On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino, OU Athletics officially enters the SEC tomorrow. And we've got the voice of the Sooners, Toby Rowland, to break it all down. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right, our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Sunday, June 30th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there's so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack match roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options in the month of July, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, simply the best. Ted, OU Athletics officially enters the SEC tomorrow. How we feeling?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Can't wait. Think it's going to be awesome. Going to be great for football. Going to be great for baseball. Going to be great for hoops. Going to be great for softball, track and field, all of the above. It's going to be fantastic. I think the fan base has, to some degree, been asleep at the wheel a little bit and ready for something new to crank things back up. It's going to inject a lot of life into the fan base, I believe.
I'm with you. The run of dominance in the Big 12, especially in football, the run of dominance was fun. Loved it. Happy that, you and I, we both got to be part of it as players and as broadcasters. But you want to be competing against the best.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you want, especially with how the future of college athletics is starting to look, the way this thing is taking shape. You want to be in the best conference in the country. And here we are. Let's go. Can't be scared, Ted. Can't be scared. Got to walk in confident, not cocky, but confident. And just embrace that everything's that's gonna come with this new era of OU athletics. Right? There's a lot of uncertainty. There's no doubt about that. But there's a lot of excitement that comes with that uncertainty, man. I am fired up, and it feels like it's been forever since this got announced or got leaked, and it's finally here.
It's wild, isn't it? Yeah, it's the amount of things that have happened since then to where we are today, and we're a year early, which is awesome. It feels like it's been forever, but it's going to be great. Got to earn your stripes, man. No one cares about what you did in the Big 12. Now you're the new guy coming in, and I personally think we'll be fine, and we're going to adjust quickly, and it's overall going to be the best thing that could have happened to all of our programs in athletics.
There's one man that's perfect to talk about this with, and that man is the voice of the Oklahoma Sooners, Toby Rowland. Here's T-Row, ladies and gentlemen. It is our pleasure to be joined by the voice of the Oklahoma Sooners. Toby Rowland is in the house. Big day tomorrow, man. Big day.
It's finally here. What's up, guys? I haven't seen you in forever.
It's been a while, T-Row. I miss you in the off season, man.
I miss you guys too. I listen to your podcast every week, and I feel like I'm still in touch, but I miss hanging with my boys. Football season will be here soon.
I am. I think we are all fired up for the season to get here, but it feels like we've been waiting for July 1st, 2024. It feels like a decade, guys.
And we're a year early still, Can you imagine if we had to wait another year?
It's finally here. Toby, how you feeling about it? I mean, what's going through your mind? What's going through your body right now? We've got all kinds of celebrations planned for the official arrival. What's going through your head right now about the move?
I mean, I think I'm like you guys and all Sooner fans. I'm beyond excited. I think part of that is because it has taken so long, such a long ramp up for it to finally arrive. We have talked about it for years. We have anticipated it. We have dissected the schedules and potential schedules and rivalries and everything for so long that it's finally here. And I can't believe it. I still can't believe it. I remember I was on a golf course in Utah when the story broke, whatever it was, 15 years ago. And I was like, that's not true. And it was, and it is, and Oklahoma is going to be in the Southeastern Conference. It's just stunning. And I can't wait to see what it's going to look like in football and basketball and baseball and softball and broadcast booths and stadiums and arenas and travel and everything that's going to be involved. I think we're all just giddy. We're giddy about this new era that's about to start.
So what all's going on? Do you know the rundown, the full rundown of what all's going to happen on July 1st?
I don't know everything. I'm not really that involved. I did a couple of things in advance beforehand. I know there's a drone show. That's what I would be the most excited about. We got a drone show at Owen Field, but I think there's, Dari Noka's doing stuff in Tulsa. There's a breakfast in Oklahoma City. There's a 5K. There's all kinds of stuff at the stadium that night. I think there's some surprise things that are going to be taking place. So it's going to be a party. Paul Feinbaum's going to be in town doing his show here. So it's going to be a whole day party. And I think the reason is because of what we just said. We've been looking forward to this for so long. And here we go. It's official in 24 hours or less.
Now, I definitely want to dive into all the different sports you call and kind of how you're feeling about those as we head into the SEC. But we got to reminisce on the Big 12 a little bit, just a little bit. What are you going to miss the most about OU being in the Big 12?
I mean, I'm 50 years old and all I've ever known is Big 8, Big 12. So there is a part of that. And I think there's a lot of fans that are about my age and older who feel the same way. There are traditions, memories of great games gone by that it's going to be a little bit sad to not see those teams on the schedule anymore. And I'm not just talking football, the trips to Fog Allen Fieldhouse or, even us, like we have road memories from trips to West Virginia or Iowa State or whatever the case may be. So there'll be a part of just 5 decades of rooting for OU that is going to drastically change now. But I can get over that, because the future's so exciting. I think the thing that I will miss are the people. We make friendships through the years with other broadcasters, coaches, media relation directors, fans in some cases. And in large part, while we'll see them from time to time, perhaps if we match up in a non-conference tournament or whatever the case may be, those relationships are in a lot of ways kind of ending, and I've made great friends in the Big 12 conference and we'll keep in touch. But that's kind of the sad part, I guess, or the part that has been difficult this year. It's been kind of a farewell tour this year. Everywhere you go is the last time you're going to that place. We had a broadcaster dinner in Kansas City with all the Big 12 guys we do every year at the Big 12 basketball tournament and saying goodbye to all those guys. So it's sentimental. And I'm going to miss a lot of my friends that I've made over the last 13 years in this job and 15 years at OU. But again, I'm excited about meeting the new guys in the SEC.
Bedlam, I think that it's going to be weird, right? I mean, I know we've got some things scheduled and hopefully more continues to get scheduled. Gabe and I were, whenever all this came down. We talked about it, how we both love Bedlam and wish it continued, but that's the one that's going to be, to me, the most strange.
It is, and it's going to be really strange, I think, the next 5 to 10 years, while there are still the hard feelings, how many times it's not going to happen in football for a while. We know that. I think it's going to happen in basketball and baseball and softball, but how many times and where, and even in those sports, there's hard feelings. And I think sooner or later, and it might be a decade from now, that cooler heads will prevail and everybody involved will realize that it's best for the fans and for the people of the state of Oklahoma that OU and OSU play each other, even though they have gone to different conferences now. We want to see it. Most fans want to see it. It is economically smart because there's not much travel involved. It is a guaranteed packed house every time you play in whatever sport it is. There's history, there's emotion, there's rivalry there. So it might take a while for the cooler heads to prevail, but I think it'll happen again sooner or later. But you're right, Ted. I mean, it's going to be really weird, especially in football, to not see Oklahoma State on the schedule.
I don't know how this is going to sound, but I was thinking about, as you were talking about what you're going to miss on the football side of things. Guys, one of the things I'm going to miss is just walking into the stadium and feeling like you're going to win every game every time. I know that may sound strange, but since I've been part of the broadcast, I can't think of a Big 12 game where you walked in the stadium and you're like, oh, we don't have this. And I don't know. I think that's going to be just a bit of an adjustment period for me and for a lot of people, because we would always walk in there and be like, hey, at least we know we've got better players. We may not win every game, but we've got the better players. We've got more talent. Now, it's not just about that, but I think I'm going to miss that feeling walking into the stadium every time and going, oh, well, at least we know we have better players than the other team.
There's some anxiety with that, though. It's like, it's either a win or a catastrophic failure.
Yeah. Every stadium you walk into in football, you're the bully, right? Like, we're big bad Oklahoma. We run this conference. Aren't you lucky to have us here in your stadium today? Congratulations on the sellout crowd we've provided for you. There's all that kind of stuff. And, I don't know that attitude by Oklahoma or even us needs to necessarily change in the SEC, but it's gonna a little bit, as far as dadgummit, LSU's athletes look really good, so it's a whole new world we're about to go into.
Yep. It's going to be fun. Now, I don't know, what are you most looking forward to with the football season fast approaching? I know we've got some great road games. We got some great home games. There's going to be a lot of new over the next couple of years. So I don't know, maybe a couple of things that you've got highlighted.
I mean, the first thing that pops up for me, aside from how the team does, and we can talk about that in a second, is the logistics of the places we get to go and how it's all going to work. I was just in a meeting last week about, airplanes, and travel and stadiums and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm very excited to go to new stadiums and new arenas and new radio booths and experience the traditions that, for the most part, we've only seen on television our lives. To see the War Eagle fly in at Auburn, to experience what the Grove is all about. Although I bet I won't experience the Grove as much as Gabe experiences the Grove, but
I plan on experiencing it to the fullest. Okay.
Yeah. Someone has to on the broadcast. We're going to give the full experience to the listeners.
You guys know how I do it. You guys want me to experience the things so that I can let people know what it was like on the broadcast. That is my role.
Part of being a sideline analyst. Exactly. And all of that, copy and paste that to pretty much every team in the SEC. I mean, there's things that are a part of college football lore that are a part of what makes this sport great, and other sports too. I mean, baseball is going to be insane in the SEC, but to get to experience that on the road for the first time and see what it's all about and play in those atmospheres, it's going to be electric. There's got to be a lot of nights on Friday where we don't sleep very much because we're so excited about what Saturday has in store for us. And at the same time, welcoming those fan bases to Norman. It's going to be a zoo in Norman when Tennessee rolls into town, and Alabama, and eventually LSU, and all of these massive fan bases that are going to bring RV trains for miles. And it's just going to be different. We've never experienced the kind of passion that we're about to experience across the board pretty much in a conference like we're about to experience. So all of that, I think, is what in my job I'm the most excited about watching and trying to describe, trying to put words to what this is like for us for the first time.
Studying your adjectives, getting some new ones ready. Now, I think one of the interesting parts of this entire move is how it affects OU fans and just the way that we have operated, the way that we've carried ourselves for decades. Now, do you think there's going to be a bit of an adjustment period for the fan base, but, more specifically thinking about football? Or do you think that OU fans are just going to go all in and kind of just see what this thing looks like in these first couple seasons? Because it feels like there's maybe a cautious optimism right now amongst the fan base.
Yeah. And maybe that's fair because you don't exactly know 100% what you're getting into yet. I think that back to kind of what you were talking about before, Oklahoma, especially in the sport of football, has been treated by its opponents in the Big 12 and Big 8, at least based on its history and tradition, with reverence. Like, I'm not telling you that everybody's nice to us all the time, but there is an understanding of what Oklahoma football is, and it's certainly its place in the Big 8 and Big 12 conference. I don't know that you're going to get that in the SEC. Certainly not right away. I don't know that you're going to get any bowing down to the history of what OU is. On the other hand, I think that the proper approach for an OU fan, and the approach I'm going to have, is not. So the world's about to get a lot tougher for OU because they're going into the SEC. True. But the SEC is about to get a lot tougher because Oklahoma is going to live in it too. And I think that's the proper approach to have. An understanding of the history and the greatness of this conference. And at the same time, we don't back down to anybody. You got to understand what we are. And I don't know that there is a full grasp of what Oklahoma is to everybody in the SEC. I still think that the perception is that the prize that they're getting here is Texas. And oh, by the way, Oklahoma's been thrown in. And to us, that's laughable. And to really probably everybody in the Big 12, that's laughable. And it will become, I think, obvious in short time that really the prize that the SEC is getting here is Oklahoma. But I think that you got to walk into this conference with your chest out and your chin up, with the knowledge of the Heisman trophies and the national championships and the greatness that is Oklahoma, not just football, but certainly football. And that we don't take a backseat to anybody. You got to meet this conference with some swagger, because it's coming at you. So if you're going to walk into this league and dare to go toe-to-toe with LSU and Alabama and Auburn and Tennessee and Georgia, then you got to walk in thumping your chest a little bit. And I think Oklahoma fans are pretty good at that, and I think we will.
Have your Oklahoma football history handbook in your back pocket. Yeah. Come armed. I think fans how they handle this season is probably going to mirror their football team. If we're playing really well, I imagine everyone's going to be, storming the castles of other, football teams as we go on the road. But if we're not playing great, it's probably going to look and feel a little bit different from the fans' perspective. So, what do you think about the team, the way things have kind of shaped up through the spring, transfer portal, the roster we've got going, and looking at the schedule that we've got?
I mean, me telling you guys anything or giving an opinion to you guys about football is like somebody giving Willy Wonka an opinion about chocolate. I mean, you guys know it inside and out. I tend to be optimistic, as you are well aware. I think that if Jackson Arnold is what we think he can be, and Gabe, if that offensive line is okay, then Oklahoma's legit this year. The skill position, both at wide receiver and running back, and now at tight end too, is really good. I think that the defense is better than it's been in a long, long time. And it's all about whether Jackson Arnold is the real deal and whether the offensive line can protect him for me. And those are big ifs, but if those things can happen, then I think Oklahoma is an upper echelon team in the SEC this year, better than people think they are. But if you don't have an offensive line, it's a long year, and especially in the SEC. So for me, that's the focus going into the year: is how good are those big guys up front going to be? It's been extremely impressive to see what Brent Venables has done with this defense in pretty short order. And the fact that we are going into year one in the SEC feeling like the stronger side of the ball might be the defensive side of the ball is shocking compared to when he took over this program. And that's the case. I mean, at least I think that's the case. You guys may disagree, but they got a ton of talent at wide receiver and running back, but I think undoubtedly the stronger side of the ball is the defense for Oklahoma going into the year. And I think Venables and his recruiting staff deserve a world of kudos for that.
We'll get you back to the interview, but first, Love's Travel Stops is now offering a nationwide 10-cent per gallon discount on gas and auto diesel. Just download the Love's Connect app and scan your barcode at the prompt on screen and watch that price drop 10 cents per gallon. Across the country, the Love's Connect app unlocks exclusive deals and can help any traveler plan their route or meal on the highway. So before you hit the road, be sure to download the Love's Connect app to save 10 cents per gallon and experience the country's best highway hospitality at Love's Travel Stops. Love's also has you covered if you forget your phone charger or headphones with their expanded mobile to-go zone. And of course, don't forget to grab yourself some of that delicious Java Amore.
And celebrate with a Schooner All-American Ale, the official craft beer of OU Athletics from Coop Ale Works. Named after the iconic Schooner that races across Owen Field after an OU score, you can join in on the celebration with an ice-cold beer from Coop Ale Works. You can enjoy it at the Palace on the Prairie, at OU athletic events, at the bar, at the tailgate, and in the comfort of your own home. For more information on Schooner All-American Ale, visit SchoonerAle.com. Must be 21 to purchase. Please drink responsibly. Schooner All-American Ale, the taste of game day.
And we love Simple Modern. Simple Modern is an Oklahoma-owned drinkware company and #1 drinkware sales leader on Amazon and Target. This summer, Simple Modern launched its Summer Shop, where they drop new and unique drinkware options every other Tuesday all summer long. Now you can get your own limited edition version of their extremely popular 40-ounce Treks in designs you won't see anywhere else. And even better, Simple Modern exists to give generously, donating 10% of all profits, so you can know you're helping better Oklahoma and beyond with every purchase. Check out the Summer Shop and all their amazing products at simplemodern.com. All right, back to the interview. Ted, I don't think is any OU fan going to argue that point that the strength of the team is the defense heading into the season.
Oh, and if you saw me looking down, I was thinking, writing it down. When is the last time that's 07? mean, there's been good defenses that have been scattered throughout. We had a really good defense in 15. I think last year, as the season progressed, we ended up maybe feeling like the defense was the better part of the team. But like the way we feel about our football team right now, preseason, it's been a long time since that's been the case.
And he did it quickly. You know, it's not like the offense is, it's not because the offense has slid necessarily. I mean, they keep getting 5-star quarterbacks, and the wide receiver recruiting has been off the charts, but it's all because of the upgrade in defensive talent.
Yeah, it's gone puke. Hey, wow. You know, it's happened really fast in 3 years. Pretty good.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a way of putting it, Ted.
There's your clip for social media, Gabe.
Yeah, I'll get right on that one. Now, you mentioned being impressed by what Venables has done, especially on the defensive side of the ball since he's been here. What was your reaction to him getting the contract extension? T-Row, I think it's, it feels like it's all about stability and sending that signal of stability as we head into the SEC. But what was your initial reaction when that news was released?
I didn't have much reaction at all because I didn't think it was abnormal or really that big of a deal for a football coach to get a 2-year extension with a moderate pay raise. Like, that's kind of normal. And then I was shocked about that there was a hubbub about it, So I don't know. I get it that he hasn't won the national championship, and maybe the results the last couple of years haven't been as good as we would want them to be. But what it speaks to is Joe Castiglione's belief that Brent Venables is the guy. And I agree with him. I think you guys do too. And the ability to give him recruiting stability going into the SEC. And I agree with all that. They didn't make him the highest paid coach in college football. I think some people thought he got a 6-year extension on top of what he already had. That's not true. He got a 2-year extension to make it a 6-year total contract.
Didn't he move him to the 9th highest paid SEC coach?
Right. Like that sounds to me at Oklahoma too low. So I don't know what the hubbub's about. Probably, honestly, it's a social media fire that tends to happen, and 95% of fans are in
Hold
support.
on. Our fans are perfectly reasonable on social media.
Right.
They don't overreact to anything, okay?
Yeah, I know. So I don't know. I don't think it's a big deal. I think it's a warranted. It is an understandable. Let me say it like that. It's an understandable move for any time, but especially going into a new conference for Josie to kind of give him a vote of confidence. Here's a small extension and a nice raise, but not exorbitant. And so it's a non-story for me.
One of the big questions that's been, this has been circling for a long time. I guess it's a two-parter. Like, what do you win total year one in the SEC, and what will fans view as acceptable, I guess is maybe the way to ask it.
So 12-0 is my prediction,
mm-hmm.
and which is my prediction every year. And I think that fans in year one, OU fans, I feel like 9. Like if they go 9-3, I think OU fans for the most part go pretty good.
I think that's the case, but here's how it always changes. If you win your non-con,
yeah,
you beat Tennessee and you beat Texas, no one's going to be happy with 9 wins anymore.
No, you're right. But talking on, what is today, July 31st?
Yeah.
Then I think the number's 9. But you're right. It's a moving target as we go along. So,
and it feels like 9, you can be in play for the 12-team playoff too.
June 30th. We haven't got to July 1 yet. Sorry, June 30th. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think if you win 9 games in the SEC with a 12-team playoff, you're in pretty good shape, especially with OU's schedule this year. So
I think, and by the way, we're pre-recording this a couple days early, so
doing the math.
T-Rose
I'm
over
trying
there.
to do the math.
You're trying to sell it, man, and I love that about you. You respect the business so much. Gosh, you people.
Today's June 25th, actually. So.
Yeah, we're recording way in advance. I have to go out of town again. My goodness, but it is. I think when you look at the schedule and you think about some of the, let's go with uncertainties on the offensive side of the ball, I will be thrilled with 9-3 with this schedule. And T-Row, let me know if you disagree. I think there's going to be an adjustment period, not only for OU fans and for Texas fans, but for all SEC fans. I think that the days of Bama and Georgia just rolling through the conference in the SEC and going 12-0, going 11-1 year in and year out, I just feel like those days are going to be over with how much talent is going to be consolidated in this league. Like, I think it's going to be more of like a mini NFL, where fan bases are going to be excited about 9-3, especially when you've got a tough schedule like OU. Is that how you see this thing playing out? And maybe the SEC ends up expanding even more than where it's at right now. But I just think with the level of talent of the players, the level of talent on coaching staffs, I just think this thing is going to, I think it's going to be more like a mini NFL than what we are used to as college football fans.
No, it's a good point. And Saban's gone, right? I mean, when you're talking about one team running the thing.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah, we got to figure out. We got to figure out what's good enough to get you in. And with a 12-team playoff, we don't exactly know what that is. We're kind of guessing maybe it's 9 in the SEC. So I think that becomes kind of a new barometer to shoot for, rather than in the past, it's been you got to go undefeated. Or maybe you could get away with one loss if it's a good loss early in the year. That's how college football is run. And now I think that there are benefits to that. That's the great thing about the college football playoff system that they've set up, is there's different levels to shoot for, from getting a first round bye to getting a host a first round game to just getting in. But I think getting in the playoff is going to be the measuring stick by whether it was a successful season or not for schools like Oklahoma. The Oklahomas, the Alabamas, the Ohio States of the world. It was a good year if you got in the playoff. You want to win the national championship, but you don't fire a coach probably if you made it into the playoff that year. If you didn't get into the playoff, then there's going to be some wringing of hands. And probably in the SEC, 10 gets you in, 9 might get you in if you got, if you've got a tough enough schedule. So yeah, that's going to be interesting, Gabe, to try to figure out what exactly you're shooting for now.
Which is like a whole different conversation with all of the conference, the Pac-12 and the Big Ten and the different schools in the ACC, what the Big 12 has done, obviously the SEC. It's like, oh yeah, there's a 12-team playoff this year. I'm not even sure how it operates and how we select the teams, what it's going to look like. I think this is going to be like one of the best things that's ever happened to college football. Are you in that realm, Toby? I know some people love the 4 teams. Some people loved the BCS. I know everyone has their preferences, but what's your just thoughts on that?
I love it. I for a long time have said that while granted college football has the best regular season in sports, I think the postseason is lacking, and in some cases not very good at all. It's hard to watch. I'll watch the bowl games because I've picked somebody to win a bowl game for 12 points on ESPN.com or something. But for the most part, most of the bowl games we don't care about. Guys are opting out right and left now. Sometimes even if they're in, group of 6 or with the big bowls, the Cotton Bowls and stuff like that. So I think this is great. I like the system they came up with for what we just talked about, that there are it doesn't make the regular season insignificant, because while maybe you can get in by winning 9 games, there are still very valuable goals to shoot for beyond that, such as having a home game at Owen Field for a playoff game, or not having to play on the first weekend. A bye is going to be a massive advantage in this thing. So
can I ask one thing, like kind of cut in there? I think the bye is the massive advantage. What effect do you think, if any, it has on the conference championship games? Because like if you have 2 teams that are in, that could be a massive amount of wear and tear for players for something that maybe, I don't know how much they weigh that it's going to, what the importance, because as of today, super important. But for the future of the 12-team playoff, does that stay the case?
Still a trophy to play for, and still something within what we were, those tiers to play for too. Of, hey, if we win this game, we're probably getting a first-round bye. We're getting a first-round bye. If we don't win this game, we're going to have to play on the opening weekend. We might get to host, or we might not get to host, whatever the case may be. So I still think there'll be a lot of buzz around those. Maybe the wear and tear part of it is a good point that you'll see conferences consider on down the line whether or not they're worth it. But if they're still making $50 million or whatever, then they're going to still play them. Yeah.
They're going to be playing them for the cash.
Yeah.
No
I mean,
doubt.
you know how it is, though, when I mean, you guys know better than me, when you could say all you want about this game really doesn't matter for us until you walk out there for pregame warmups and there's Texas on the other side of the ball and you're playing for a conference championship, then forget that. I mean, you want to go beat their brains in. So maybe for fans, that might be the case, but I don't know. I just hope I think it'll help save the sport to some extent from guys leaving early to go to the NFL draft and opting out. It's just a bad look for the whole sport the last few years.
I agree.
So we've got the expanded playoff. So I'm with you. I think the postseason is going to be better. But when you just look at the sport as a whole right now, T-Row, this latest wave of conference realignment, we've still got this NIL piece that is playing a large factor in the sport. Just how are you feeling about the overall health of college football right now, just where we're at?
I think college football is going to be fine. I think college football will continue to thrive despite transfer portals and NILs and all that stuff. It is just too popular and it makes too much money. And while there are parts of it that we don't like guys jumping to different teams every year and having basically contract negotiations when you're recruiting a guy, that's all icky. But the sport is as popular as it's ever been, and might even get more popular with some of these changes that are coming along with conference realignment and with college football playoff. The thing that I worry about is everything else in college sports. You know, the trickle down effect of this may end up reducing the size of athletic departments and potentially hurting sports on down the line beyond basketball, baseball, and softball. I think those sports are probably all fine. But, you know, the soccers of the world, the track and fields of the world, you know, all those, I don't know. I'm worried about their future with all of the money and attention and everything seemingly going to the top, which is football. So, and who knows, maybe in the end, we'll see. Maybe that isn't the case, but I guess that's what worries me. I am worried about collegiate sports and it becoming professional sports. And we're there. So the long-term stability and the ability to continue to churn out the kind of dollars they're going to have to keep this thing going worries me a little bit. But college football isn't going anywhere. You know, if anything, it's going to be bigger and badder than ever, in my opinion.
Speaking of bigger and badder than ever, baseball is heading into a new world.
Ooh.
If football, if we're stepping up in football, going to the SEC, baseball is probably the biggest step you could make, and I am all for it. I think, I when I talk to people about it, it's like, boy, baseball, we're doomed. I don't understand that. I feel like baseball is going to get the largest lift probably of any of the sports. Football, obviously, you're going to get a recruiting boost, and we've seen that. But baseball, the fact that there's two more programs, both of them have historically been pretty good, that are going to the SEC, there's going to be a lot of good players that are, just chomping at the bit to go play for Oklahoma and Texas baseball. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I feel like we are going to get up to speed fairly quickly.
Yeah, I don't even know if there's a getting up to speed element to it. I mean, they played for the national championship 2 years ago, and they've had really good teams the last couple of years. They beat the national champions this year. It's a long time ago, but they did beat Tennessee this season. So, and Oklahoma's had I don't have it in front of me right now, but in the Skip Johnson era, they've had a really good record against the SEC. It's like 2-1, it's like 16 wins, 8 losses, something like that. But man, it's going to be exciting. I think you're right. I think Oklahoma will hold its own. It's going to be tough game in and game out. But in the SEC, you also have an understanding of how tough it is. And the number the last several years to get into the NCAA tournament in the SEC has been 13 out of 30 conference games. If you can go 13-17, you're almost guaranteed to be in the NCAA tournament. So there's kind of a built-in understanding as to how tough this league is. OU won 23 games this year in the Big 12. They went 23-7. That's not going to happen very often in the SEC for anybody. But still, you're right. Recruiting has, and I think will continue to take a big step up just playing on that stage. The opportunity to play in the environments that they have, which are incredible at Ole Miss and Mississippi State and LSU and Texas A&M and Arkansas and Tennessee, and Vanderbilt is great in baseball. South Carolina has an incredible stadium, is going to attract a lot of talent. And as long as you've got good coaches, and I think Oklahoma has a great coaching staff right now, then you're going to win baseball games. But I think baseball is the second most popular sport in the SEC. I think SEC fans, if you took a poll of them, would say football 1, baseball 2. I think it's more popular than basketball is in that league. And it is so exciting, the thought of Oklahoma getting to go into, just like with football, getting to go into Oxford and Starkville and back to College Station and now Knoxville and get to go toe to toe with these teams. It's going to be, and for them to come to Norman, maybe that's the biggest ramification of this is Mitchell Park took a major step forward this year, the crowds, the atmospheres, and really it has incrementally since they made that World Series run in 2022. But what we're about to experience with the LSUs of the world visiting and everybody else is going to be shocking. And I think it will kind of force Sooner baseball fans to take a major step up in their support of the program. Like there could be weekends where you host LSU and there's more LSU people in the crowd. I hope that's not the case, but they travel by the thousands to support their baseball teams. So I'm looking forward to hopefully the support and the fervor for Oklahoma baseball taking a big step forward because just trying to be competitive in this league. I hope that's the case.
We'll get you back to the interview, but first,
all you grill masters, listen up. Didier Ranch delivers quality beef that is 100% raised in Oklahoma right to your front door. Go to didierranch.com, DIDIER ranch.com to order one of their premium quality beef boxes and use promo code Oklahoma15 for 15% off your order. Filet, ribeye, New York strips, sirloin, steak burgers, they've got it all, and they ship anywhere in the continental U.S., and Oklahomans can get deliveries in just 1 to 2 days. The only thing better than having a lot of premium beef on the O&D line is having premium beef delivered right to your front door. Didier Ranch, tradition tastes better.
And head to the garage for hand smashed patties, butter, toasted buns, and some ice cold beer. It's the perfect spot to watch any big game. And with all garage locations being open at 10 p.m. or later every night, it is the go-to late night spot. You got to get the bison burger, people. It is so good. Visit eatatthegarage.com to find a location near you and order online from the garage in your neighborhood.
Attention business owners, you need Insurica in your life. Insurica is one of the country's largest insurance brokers with 30 offices throughout Oklahoma, Texas, and the Southwest. Insurica is able to customize programs by accessing the latest information from many insurance carriers. They compare and contrast coverage offerings and pricing in order to design a cost-effective, comprehensive program to meet your business's specific needs. If your business partners with Insurica, you'll save huge amounts of money and take back control of your total cost of risk. If your business wants to be best in class, connect with Insurica at insurica.com. That's INSURICA.com.
All right, back to the interview. You look at what softball has with Loves Field now and just how elite of a facility that is. There's been a lot of discussion about improving the baseball stadium. How do you feel about the progress there? Like the investment from the university, the support from fans, donors, when it comes to getting Mitchell SEC ready, if you will.
Yeah, I think it's been too slow, but there is some real hope on the horizon that I think we're going to get news about in coming days, that maybe things have taken a significant jump forward just in the last couple of months. It needs to happen. It is a good facility, but right now, Mitchell Park, as it stands, would probably rank 15th out of 16 in the SEC. I think it's probably better than Missouri, and that's it. And so it needs to happen. It needs to happen because we don't want to be 15th out of 16 in anything, but it also needs to happen because it really helps in recruiting. You know, if you're competing with LSU and Arkansas for a guy, and it happens, and they go visit LSU and they go visit Arkansas and they come visit Mitchell Park, we're going to have a hard time getting him. Now, maybe it's a pitcher who wants to work with Skip and they end up getting him because he can see the future, but that's maybe 1 out of 10 guys that have that kind of a vision. So it needs to happen. It needs to happen for our fans. You know, we deserve the best of the best. And right now we have a sparkling gym in Loves Field. It's incredible. And I don't think Owen Field takes a backseat to hardly anybody. It's not the biggest stadium in the country, but it's one of the nicest. And whether you're talking about Lloyd Noble Center or Mitchell Park, those facilities are lagging behind. And it's just about raising the money. You know, I think people think some fans think there's a pool of millions of dollars underneath the Switzer Center that Joe Castiglione can just go grab money out of and throw it at projects whenever he wants. And that's just not the case. To build things, you got to go raise the money. And the passion of Sooner donors, understandably so, the last few years has been behind football and softball. And they deserve it. I don't blame them at all. But that's where the money's been going, and that's why you see Loves Field, and that's why the Palace on the Prairie is so nice. But we have had a relatively, by comparison, small baseball fan base at OU, by comparison to other SEC schools, and a smaller donor base too. So they don't necessarily need Johnny and Joe to give an extra $50 a month. They need a Loves to step in and underwrite the project. I'm not saying Loves, but an equivalent of that, to come in and say, all right, we're here to make a major donation, put our name on the ballpark. Bluebell Field, for example, at Texas A&M. We need baseball needs one of those to come forward and make a major difference-making donation to kind of get this thing going. I think they're close.
Can you, maybe you have no idea. I know there's been a couple of different renderings that they've kind of thrown out there. I don't know if those were just, a vision, or if those are actual what they're going to do. But quickly, if you have any idea, do you know what they want to do? Like what maybe the goal is for the park?
Yeah, so there have been some renderings. I think that while those are good to go by and to get a cost estimate for, they are not locked in stone. I know there are, plans for both down the first and third base line, for some more kind of fan bar top areas and standing room only, and just make everything look a little nicer and stuff like that. I think that what happened in the regional, and I think Ted, you were at the regional in the outfield, maybe even, right?
Yep.
I think what happened in the regional caught a lot of people's eye, and they were going to do some stuff in the outfield already to close off the berms. There was talks of maybe putting like a restaurant bar area out there and some decking and things like that. And as far as I know, all that stuff's going to happen. But the visual and the atmosphere that was created by those tents in the outfield, more or less bowling in the stadium and closing it in and making it kind of claustrophobic, was awesome. And we've never, that may cause them to kind of go back to the drawing board and say, okay, how can we create that atmosphere, not with tents necessarily, but with something. So I think it is malleable and changeable until you start to dig. But the general idea is, we got good bones. We don't need to tear this thing down and build it back up. Let's make it nicer, and let's do some cool things in the outfield and down the lines that'll differentiate ourselves from some of the other stadiums. The people who are responsible for this, the Greg Tiptons of the world, have been traveling to stadiums all over the SEC and all over the country and saying, I like that, I don't like that. Let's try to do something like that here. And so you look at the tailgating situation at Mississippi State and Ole Miss and a lot of other places. Frankly, I hate to say this, but what Oklahoma State did was fantastic. And the corrals that they built for fraternities and sororities and fans in general to be able to cook out while you're watching the game, bring your own food, there's grills, you get this party space for one game or for the entire season, whatever you want, is a fantastic concept. And I think you'll see Oklahoma maybe do something in that world, combined with what they saw with the tents. And they got a lot of ideas. They just need the money to start making it happen.
Speaking of money to make it happen, are you going to raise all the money for the new basketball arena? Is that the plan? They putting you in charge of that? How do you feel about where that whole thing stands, T-Row? I mean, you're the voice of OU basketball. Clearly, you care deeply about the program. You want them to have a new facility, but man, is it going to happen? When's it going to happen? Will it happen? I just don't know how to feel about it, man.
I mean, the people in the know, and I'm not in the middle of Norman politics, but the people.
Maybe you should be.
I don't know.
I think you'd be a great Norman politician.
I think I don't think OU fans want that. I think that the people who are in the middle of this feel cautiously optimistic that it's going to happen. But anytime you're talking politics, and especially Norman politics, nothing is a slam dunk. So we'll see. I hope so. I think the idea that they have is a great idea. I think that it's a win-win. It's a great answer for the problem facing Oklahoma basketball right now. And it is also a great investment for the Norman community. But even in just saying that, I probably ticked off a whole lot of people right there. I think it needs to happen. I'm very hopeful for it. I think it's a winning idea. And if it all comes together, it would give Oklahoma basketball a major lift. But I'm cautiously optimistic. That's as far as I can say when it comes to. I watched way too much of a city hall meeting the other night. I fell into one of those, online YouTube things, and I was like, I'm going to check out just a few minutes of this just to see what it's all about. And like 3.5 hours later, I was like, I got to go to bed, because it's just so fascinating seeing the residents get up there and argue over this or that and whatever the case may be. And all of them, I'm sure, have passionate, valid points. But I sure hope it happens. I sure hope, for the program's sake and for OU basketball's sake, and really for the city of Norman. I honestly think it's a great idea for the city of Norman, but we'll see.
It's the move to the SEC for hoops. I mean, you feel like maybe it's going to give the program a little bit of breathing room to be able to get better. But then you look last year, I think that would they get 8 teams in to the tournament? I mean, it's still, I know the Big 12 is known for being the best basketball conference, but the SEC doesn't feel like it's far behind with the coaches that you get and the players and the programs.
I think it's maybe like a very small step down. I think it's the one sport you can look at and say maybe they had it tougher in the Big 12, but not by much. Joe Lunardi did a bracketology last week, which is stupid, but still he did it for this upcoming season. And I think he had 10 SEC teams in the tournament, and Oklahoma wasn't one of them out of 16. So it's a good league. Obviously, Kentucky's a juggernaut, but even teams like Arkansas have been, until this past year, I think they had been to 3 straight Elite Eights. Rick Barnes has it going at Tennessee. Alabama's cooking right now. Auburn has had some great teams lately. Florida's won national championships. So it's a really good league. I do think that there is a more of a bottom most years in the SEC than there is in the Big 12 in basketball. So you do have maybe a little bit more of an ability, if your schedule breaks right, to gobble up some easier wins from time to time. But it's going to be an unbalanced schedule in basketball. So who knows if that's going to break your way or not. But yeah, I think that maybe it's a slight step down in the SEC. I reserve the right to change my opinion on that, though, once we get into the league next year.
This may be tough to answer. Who's on our basketball team?
It's a great question. I
mean, they lost. I feel for Porter
Jalen
Moser,
Moore
man.
is the answer. Yeah.
Jalen Moore's back. Let's go. Come on.
Jalen Moore's back, and that was huge because he went to the draft and then went through the whole process and then decided to return. So there's your building block for next year. But virtually everybody else they had to turn over. Jacob Cole is back. He was redshirted last year, so nobody really knows him. And we'll see. I think basketball is the hardest sport now to figure out transfer portal wise how good you are from one year to the next. I mean, the idea that Lunardi's trying to guess who's in the NCAA tournament when pretty much every team has completely been renovated is crazy. And I think Porter did a good job in the end of bringing in some very intriguing talent. I could make an argument, I did on my show the other day, that man for man, this looks like this team might be better than last year's team. And last year's team, was in the NCAA tournament until the 11th hour. Now, you never know how chemistry is going to come together. You never know the buy-in for guys to assist them until they get on the floor. Injuries always play a major impact. But Jalen Moore is a all-conference caliber player to build around. And they got a kid that can really score out a high point. They got another guy that is a fantastic defender. They got a 3-point shooter who's 47% behind the arc. So he brought in, and a couple of freshmen that look like they can really go. He brought in some very intriguing talent that is just going to be a giant unknown until we see him on the court. But it's a huge year, Porter's he's got to get him in the dance this year somehow. And so hopefully it all gels perfectly and they're better than anybody anticipates them being.
it's going to be, I mean, it always has been, but certainly the first couple of years, it's going to be wild for you because, like, just the logistics, like you were talking about earlier, new football places, new travel arrangements. It's going to be the same for basketball and baseball. Like, going to take a toll, won't it?
Hotels, we get used to the same hotels everywhere,
Yeah.
restaurants that we like when we go into cities.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's something that people don't think about and probably don't care about, nor should they. But the comfort of being able to walk in with the equipment and know where everything, the hookups are, who to talk to, where to go, that makes life a lot easier.
it's going to be stressful for Drake. Let's just be
Yeah.
honest. Our engineer, Drake Dykin, it's going to be very stressful for him. I'm excited about it. You're right. There's a lot of unknowns. Everything's going to be new, and it will feel that way for probably until you've been everywhere once or twice. So, I mean, we're talking 4 to 6 years probably until you start to get a level of comfort with everything. But that's part of the excitement too, and I think we needed it. I think I needed it. You guys need it. The fan base needs it. You need a shakeup every once in a while. You need to move to a new house or take a new job in another city or whatever the case may be. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm not looking forward to going to Auburn. I'm looking forward to seeing that eagle fly around the stadium, but the radio booth is maybe the worst I've ever seen in my life. Vantage point. Teddy's going to love it because you're going to be able to see all 22 from behind the whole time, but we're in the end zone in Auburn, like legitimate, not in the corner, like we're behind the goalposts at Auburn. And for me, that's going to be impossible. For Teddy, it's going to be beautiful. But other than that, I can't wait to go to Ole Miss. I can't wait to hopefully get a night game at LSU this year, and basketball and baseball and everything. Hoover. I want to see an SEC basketball tournament. Nashville. Nashville is such a cool town. I can't. I hope we're there long enough that I can hit up Broadway a few times while I'm there, and Hoover for the baseball tournament. It's going to be great.
We'll get you back to the interview, but first,
3 things matter in banking: service, service, and service. First Fidelity Bank's commitment to exceptional service is more than a promise. It's their foundation. First Fidelity Bank has been by your side for over a century, and they're honored to be a part of your journey. Banking isn't about where you've been, it's about where you're headed. Open an account at an award-winning bank today at ffb.com. At First Fidelity Bank, we go where you go.
and this episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. We all have a lot going on in our lives, work, family, being a parent, all that stuff. And then we are constantly comparing what we have to what other people have. It all adds up and can become extremely stressful. And it's really helpful to be able to talk to someone about all of that. That's where BetterHelp comes in. Visit betterhelp.com/OKC to get 10% off your first month. Started talking to a therapist when I was playing the NFL, was very stressed out trying to stay on the roster, and helped me out a lot. Still go talk to a therapist every once in a while when I have some things that need to get off my chest. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online and designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and go from there. You can even switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Therapy can help you focus on what really matters in your life. Stop comparing and start focusing with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/OKC to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/OKC to get 10% off your first month.
And head to opolisclothing.com for our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's OPOLIS clothing.com. Use promo code TED, TED, for 10% off. That's opolisclothing.com. Use promo code TED for 10% off. Buttery soft and 10% off.
All right, back to the interview. We had the listeners submit some questions for you, and I got a couple for you, T-Row.
All right.
First one comes from Jackson Moore, who asks, what has been Toby's favorite 2 facts or traditions he has learned while providing the SEC stat of the day? Which, by the way, you've created an incredible amount of work for yourself doing that. I kudos to you, friend.
You got
Thank
to
you.
learn
It's
it
been
somehow. And
yeah, it's been
while you're
fun.
thinking about it, I'll say this, Toby. My favorite SEC fact of the day, I think it was it. Is Texas the only turf football field?
I think there was one other one. I have to go look it up. It might have
Vanderbilt.
been. It might be Vanderbilt. Yeah, that
Or
might
Arkansas.
be right.
Arkansas's turf, isn't it? Anyways, that was the one that I loved. Is that it's
you just want to make
all grass.
You want to make fun of Texas for having a turf
Yeah.
field, which I
And that
believe
too.
didn't CDC say they're going back to grass?
They
Yeah.
got to. They can't stick out like a sore thumb like that.
Yeah. Texas is always going to stick out like a sore thumb,
That's
no matter
true.
what they try to do. So I just had a hunger. I was watching I don't know if you guys have watched the ESPN documentary series on the SEC. I think it's called Saturdays in the South or something, Saturdays Down South, something like that. It's not the same as the website. They did a 10-part documentary that I would encourage all Sooner fans to check out. They did one for basketball too for the SEC. It's like 6 parts, and it's the history of the conference. And I got to watching that one day, and there was a lot of stuff in there that I didn't know, and just kind of developed an appetite for, hey, I don't want to be the new guy that goes into this league and doesn't know anything about the history of the league. There's a whole documentary on the broadcasters, of the legendary broadcasters of the SEC in years gone by, from John Ward to Kaywood Ledford to Rod Bramblett and on, that I find fascinating. But I started writing down some of the facts and just kind of got an appetite for it and decided maybe the fans would enjoy some of these too. There's been way more controversy about them than I ever anticipated. They're just facts, but a lot of times it causes fights, and other fan bases will start yelling at me. And I'm like, listen, I didn't make this fact up. It's just the statistics on this thing. But anyway, without thinking too hard on it, one of them that jumps out is the checkerboard end zones in Tennessee. I just assumed, I don't know what I assumed. I never thought about where did those come from. But when General Neyland was the head coach at Tennessee, General Neyland, they called him General because he was a general in the Army. And he ended up being a legendary coach that led them to multiple national championships. But when he was the coach and they were practicing on the field, there was an administration building, which is still there, by the way, and I believe it's behind the north end zone, which at the top of the administration building, there's a checkerboard design that goes around the top with the way they put the stones on this building. And when they were practicing, he would tell the offense, run to the checkerboard. When you're going that way, run to the checkerboard, which meant run toward the building that has the checkerboard design around the top. And so that became a famous phrase in Tennessee lore, was like General Neyland yelling at the offense, run to the checkerboard. And so that became the impetus for them putting checkerboard end zones in Neyland Stadium now. And that's why you hear run to the checkerboard or whatever. So little things like that I didn't know about. I heard from several Tennessee fans on that one that said, I never heard that story before. I had no idea where our checkerboard end zones came from. So it's been fun to just it's remarkable how many cemeteries there are on football stadium sites in the SEC. Now, most of them are pet cemeteries, like the dead Reveilles and the dead Uggas that have little cemeteries outside the stadiums, or in some cases inside the stadiums. But Alabama has a real human cemetery that butts up against the stadium. And the stadium was built there with the understanding you can never do anything to bother this cemetery. And so literally when we go to Tuscaloosa, right outside the end zone is a small human cemetery. There are no Alabama players there. There are no Alabama coaches there. It's completely full. This is just an old time cemetery that is right next, butting up against the stadium. So anyway, there's been a lot of crazy things that we found out over the last 200 days or so.
I'll say this: if Oklahoma is willing to start a cemetery next to their stadium, I will be buried there first. You can bury me by the stadium if you'd like to. I'm offering myself up.
I nominate myself as well.
You guys know that the rumor is that Mex the dog is married under the north end zone at Owen Field.
I think I do remember hearing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. This
rumor now.
I got a couple more for you, T-Row. This one comes from Bubba Brown. He asks, obviously there are some outstanding programs in the SEC. Have you listened to any of their broadcast teams? If so, who impressed you? Do you feel like you need to ramp it up going into the SEC? Put yourself at the top, so to speak.
No, there's no ramping it up. Yes, I have crossed.
I'm not sure you can ramp it up anymore, man.
I know
you bring it pretty. It's pretty much on 11 already.
I would say that just in regards to that, I don't know that. I am so proud of our broadcast crew, and I am so excited about the SEC getting introduced to it. And I think that play-by-play guy aside, he's average, but Teddy is the best at what he does in America. Gabe is unlike anybody that any broadcast has, college or NFL in America. There's nobody out there like Gabe Ikard doing what he does, sacrificing to go to the Grove before the game to do the research, those kind of things.
Reprimanding offensive linemen during the during the game.
Yeah. Chris Plank is a monster, man. I mean, he is Energizer Bunny and so forth and so on. And so I think we got the best crew in the country and the best crew in the SEC going in, and I can't wait for everybody to get to listen to you guys. But my path has crossed with most of the SEC broadcasters in some form or fashion through the years, basketball, baseball, or football. And there's a lot of good ones. Bob Kessling at Tennessee is he's a legend there, been doing it a long time. Chuck Barrett at Arkansas, I think, is very good. You guys remember Sean Kelly when the New Orleans Hornets were here?
Yeah.
He's the new play-by-play guy at Florida. He just got the job last year and does a really nice job, obviously, for them. He's very talented. Eli Gold just parted ways at Alabama, so he's not there anymore. But there's a lot of good ones around the league. And obviously, I mean, the SEC is cream of the crop in everything, and that includes their radio broadcast crews too. So I don't know a lot of those guys real well. I know them on a superficial basis just from playing them in a game and exchanging pronunciations and things like that. But I'm looking forward to getting to know them a little better.
Do you guys think they're going to try to haze us? Are we going to get hazed as the new guys?
For sure.
Bring it on. Let's go. Come on.
A little less likely with you two than with me and Plank, because they'll size you up and say, why don't we go pick on the other guys? But it'll happen.
All right. Here's the last one, T-Row. It comes from Keegan Jewell. He asks, what was Toby's favorite call he's done for any sport this last year? Ooh, that's tough.
I hate these questions. But I would say there were two that when I hear them back, I don't hate them. One of them was fairly recently was Jackson Nicholas had the walk-off homer in the Big 12 tournament to put him in the championship game. And that was a fun moment. That doesn't happen very often. So that was okay. And then, anytime you make a play to beat Texas in football, the DG to Nick Anderson play was a fun one. Honestly, I think the best radio from that game was the goal line stand. And that is in large part due to Ted. It's just saying, make them snap it again, make them snap it again. I mean, if you go listen to, and you can find it on the internet, if you go listen to that, like 3 minutes of radio of Texas trying to get into the end zone and just Teddy breaking down what OU needs to do on every play, it's tremendous radio. But off the top of my head, those are a couple of things.
I like the In the Parker Grand Slam was awesome too.
Yeah, that didn't happen very often either.
No.
Bryce Madron. Yeah, that was fun.
That's
cool.
rare. T-Row, we're in the SEC, man. It's here. Let's have some fun, dude. Come on.
I can't wait. This is going to be great.
You're the best, buddy. Appreciate the time.
All right. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
That guy, first of all, just love that man. Really do. But that guy, his combination of being realistic while also being optimistic, there's a reason he's so successful. It's such a perfect combination. I love listening to him break stuff down just with the perspective he brings. Toby Rowland puts me in a good mood, man.
Yep. He's great at what he does. Makes it easy for all of us on the broadcast that are partners with him. Even kill, knowledgeable. He brings everything to the table. He's as good as they come. Obviously, everyone knows that.
OU fans, we're officially in the SEC. It now officially just means more.
There you go.
Start of a new era, Ted. Let's go. I don't know what's about to happen, but I'm excited about it. We're in this thing, baby. Let's go.
Good things are about to happen across the board. It's going to be amazing.
On that note, episode 435 in the book. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop on Wednesday. Q&A episode. Really fun one. Just a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hope you all have a great start to your week. And until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.